Welcome to Bedtime Stories. Get into a comfortable position. Take a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. As you breathe, let the tension and stress melt away from your body. With each exhale, allow your body to sink deeper into a state of relaxation. Take one more deep breath. As you exhale, allow your mind to drift into a peaceful, restful state. Let go of any thoughts or worries. Continue breathing slowly and steadily as you sink deeper and deeper into a state of relaxation and calm. Allow yourself to drift off into a peaceful sleep. The Forgotten Royals. Nathaniel gazed out the grimy window of the small, dilapidated house he called home. The sky was gray and overcast, matching the dull, dreary surroundings. He sighed heavily, wishing he could be anywhere but here. Nathaniel's life had been anything but easy. He and his parents, Sarah and Thomas, lived in poverty, struggling to make ends meet day to day. His parents worked long, grueling hours, leaving Nathaniel to fend for himself much of the time. He often went hungry, wearing hand-me-down clothes that were too big or too small. The house they lived in was run down, with peeling paint, a leaky roof, and drafty windows. Nathaniel couldn't understand how his family had ended up in this situation. His parents never spoke much about their past, but he knew there was more to the story than they were telling. Sometimes he would catch them exchanging sad, wistful glances, as if longing for a life they once had. One day, as Nathaniel was cleaning his room, he noticed a loose floorboard. Curious, he pried it up and gasped at what he found. A small wooden box, ornately decorated with intricate carvings. His heart racing, Nathaniel carefully lifted the box and carried it to the living room where his parents were sitting. "What's this?" he asked, placing the box on the coffee table in front of them. Sarah and Thomas exchanged a startled look, faces draining of color. "Where did you find that, Nathaniel?" his father asked quietly. "Under the floor in my room. What is it?" His parents were silent for a moment, seemingly lost in thought. Finally, his mother spoke. "It's time we told you the truth, Nathaniel. That box ... It contains the keys to our past. A past we've kept hidden for far too long." Nathaniel's brow furrowed in confusion as his parents opened the box, reverently removing the contents. There was an old, worn journal, a set of ornate keys, and what appeared to be a royal seal. "These belong to your grandparents, Nathaniel," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly. "Your grandparents were the king and queen of Valeria." Nathaniel's eyes went wide with shock. "The king and queen? But How did we end up here, living like this? Thomas sighed heavily. It's a long and painful story, son. Your grandparents were beloved rulers who brought prosperity and peace to Valeria. But there were those who grew jealous and resentful of their power. A group of nobles plotted against them, staging a violent coup. In the chaos, your grandparents were forced to flee the kingdom. Your grandparents made it to safety and lived out their days in hiding, passing these items on to us before they passed. Sarah said, a single tear rolling down her cheek. Nathaniel's head was spinning. He couldn't believe what he was hearing, that his grandparents were royalty, that his family once held a kingdom. So, what happened then? How did we end up here? Without the king and queen, the nobles who seized power ran Valeria into the ground. The once prosperous kingdom fell into ruin. Your parents, Thomas and I, were forced to flee as well, always looking over our shoulders, never able to return home. We've been living in hiding ever since, trying to keep you safe and unaware of your true heritage, Sarah explained. Nathaniel sat in stunned silence, trying to process everything. After a long moment, he looked up at his parents. But if my grandparents were the rightful rulers, can't we go back and reclaim the kingdom? Thomas shook his head solemnly. It's not that simple, Nathaniel. The nobles who usurped the throne are still in power, and they would stop at nothing to eliminate any threat to their rule. We've lived in constant fear of being discovered all these years. Going back would be dangerous. So we're just supposed to live like this forever? Hiding and struggling? Nathaniel asked, heart sinking. We've done what we've had to in order to keep you safe, Sarah said, placing a hand on his arm. But now that you know the truth, perhaps there is a way we can try to reclaim what is rightfully ours. Nathaniel looked down at the items in the box, running his fingers over the ornate keys. What do you mean? Those keys. They're the keys to the royal treasury. If we could get back to Valeria, we may be able to rally support and overthrow the usurpers. But it would be incredibly dangerous, Thomas explained. I don't care about the danger, Nathaniel said firmly. This is my heritage, my family's legacy. If there's a chance we can take back the kingdom, I want to try. Sarah and Thomas exchanged a long, contemplative look. Finally, his mother spoke. Very well. We'll start making preparations. But Nathaniel, you must understand, this won't be easy. We'll be risking everything. Nathaniel nodded determinedly. I understand, but I have to try. For my grandparents, for our family, and for Valeria. Over the next several weeks, Nathaniel's parents worked tirelessly to put a plan in motion. They reached out to old contacts, gathering intelligence and resources. It was painstaking, dangerous work, but they were driven by the hope of reclaiming their birthright. Finally, the day came when they were ready to make the journey back to Valeria. Nathaniel's heart was pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation as they set out. The trek was long and arduous, filled with treacherous obstacles and narrow escapes. But Nathaniel's determination never wavered. At last, they reached the borders of Valeria. The once grand kingdom now lay in ruin, its once proud citizens living in squalor under the cruel rule of the usurpers. Nathaniel felt a pang of sadness at the sight, but also a renewed sense of purpose. "This is it," Thomas said solemnly. "Once we cross that border, there's no turning back." Nathaniel took a deep breath and nodded. "I'm ready." The family made their way cautiously through the ravaged countryside, constantly on the lookout for any sign of the enemy. Eventually, they reached the capital city, where the imposing palace of the false kings loomed before them. "We'll need to find a way to get inside the palace undetected," Sarah whispered. "That's where the treasury is kept. If we can retrieve the royal seal, we may be able to rally the people to our cause." Nathaniel nodded, mind racing to come up with a plan. After some discussion, they decided that he and his mother would infiltrate the palace, while his father created a diversion outside. Heart pounding, Nathaniel crouched beside his mother as they slipped past the palace guards and made their way through the dimly lit corridors. It was a tense, nerve-wracking journey, but they eventually reached the treasury without incident. "There it is," Sarah breathed, spotting the royal seal lying atop a massive pile of gold and jewels. She carefully retrieved it, cradling it in her hands reverently. Just then, the sound of approaching footsteps made them both freeze in fear. Nathaniel's heart raced as a pair of armed guards rounded the corner, weapons drawn. "Halt! Who goes there?" one of the guards bellowed. Sarah acted quickly, thrusting the seal into Nathaniel's hands. "Run, Nathaniel! Get out of here and find your father. I'll hold them off." "But Mother," Nathaniel protested, terror coursing through him. "Go now," she yelled, shoving him forward. Nathaniel hesitated for only a moment before turning and fleeing, the precious seal clutched tightly in his hands. He could hear the sounds of a scuffle behind him, but forced himself to keep running. He burst out of the palace, scanning the chaos outside for any sign of his father. Suddenly, he spotted Thomas in the distance, engaged in a fierce battle with several guards. "Father," Nathaniel cried, running to his aid. Thomas caught sight of him, and his eyes widened. Nathaniel, what are you doing? Where's your mother? She's still inside, fighting the guards. Nathaniel panted, I have the seal. Thomas's expression darkened with worry. Then we must go back for her, quickly. The two men hurried back into the palace, navigating the dimly lit corridors until they reached the treasury. Nathaniel's breath caught in his throat as he saw his mother, Sarah, engaged in a fierce battle with the palace guards. Mother, Nathaniel called out, and Sarah's eyes widened with surprise and joy at the sight of her son. Nathaniel, you made it out, she exclaimed, momentarily distracted. In that split second, one of the guards lunged at her, but Thomas was there, intercepting the attack and knocking the guard to the ground. We have to get out of here now, Thomas shouted, ushering his wife and son towards the exit. The family fled the palace, narrowly avoiding the pursuing guards. Once they reached the relative safety of the outer city, they paused to catch their breath, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. Nathaniel handed the royal seal to his mother, his eyes shining with relief and pride. You did it, Mother. Now we can rally the people and take back Valeria. Sarah pulled her son into a fierce embrace, tears of joy in her eyes. Yes, my son. Together, we will reclaim what is rightfully ours. Thomas placed a hand on Nathaniel's shoulder, his gaze filled with a mixture of pride and determination. The road ahead will be treacherous, but with the seal in our possession and our family united, we stand a chance of restoring the rightful rule of Valeria. Thomas placed a hand on Nathaniel's shoulder, his gaze filled with a mixture of pride and determination. The road ahead will be treacherous, but with the seal in our possession and our family united, we stand a chance of restoring the rightful rule of Valeria. Rest well and wake up refreshed for a brand new day. Good night and sweet dreams.